nhớ rồi trong nhà chỉ cái tên người cha nó là giờ lúc cầu lên tu nó tì cầu o xong o phần năng cầu ý của giờ bỏ đi ba số sự nó cũng cho bên một xe lòn từ hải ninh kha Dakota nhất là hậu sinh Minnesota nhất là lúc cầu lên tu nó tì cầu ý ta là nó hải ninh kha là cái tàu mua ý lúc công trình là ok rong xe xí sầu đầu lúc học project cầu lúc xong ta là nóแล้วกูต้องทอสินเตอร์ฟงเฮิร์นเราจงตู่พูดแทนที่เราเขาสังมินสตาจนหน่อยจะจื้อกงเต็นเราเลยเทียนเราเลยเขาพลันเจนเราที่ลิเตียเราเนี่ยเราจอดเรารู้เชื่อแต่สินเราเราอยากเห็นจอเรารู้ใจให้จอเราการเลยเกยใจเท่าเกยตู่รู้แต่รู้เชื่อก็หูชีรู้ใจรู้ยงแต่สินเราที่ลิเตาเจอโชว์หายหนึ่งเราไปเจนมงต่อตัวมุกงเราแล้วกูเชิงรงนอตียางเก่าแล้วกูปอเตาหาเดียถ้าเจอในปอเนี่ยเราเดินนออย่างเนี่ยเราช้าอีใจสิ่งพอเขาสิ่งเมนสตาอย่างที่ท่านเจอว่าดาวหูยันตรงเดินเจนหนึ่งค่าอย่างเดินแล้วลูกกุ้งเชิงนอเลยที่เตาเจอจนหน่อจะจืดจะโจสิ่งเดินผงเข้าตัวต้มไฮลูเชื่อเชียโจไฮหนึ่งค่าคนเราเราต่อกูจะเป็นมือใช้ให้เดียลูกอีเวนต์นอยงในจัดเดีย
The pandemic has been hard on all of us.
But there are other things in our lives that are also making life very hard. Things like violence in the family, alcohol or drug use in the family, absent parents from your life, relationship difficulties with parents or friends, someone you love has passed away, someone you love is very sick, or something terrible happened to you or your loved ones in the past. You know your body best, and if you're not feeling well, it really doesn't matter what's the cause.
We know physical pain and emotion pain takes on an enormous toll on your ability to do your best. Even though emotional pain is invisible, it doesn't mean that it hurts less. It's just hard to find the words to describe what's happening to you.
There is no shame in getting help if you're hurting from a broken bone or a physical condition. So, why should you need to feel shameful about getting help if you're hurting emotionally? Besides, help for emotional hurting is confidential anyways.
So no matter what's the cause, it's okay to get help if you are too tired to do anything like go to school or get out of bed, having difficulty sleeping, no longer interested in doing things you used to enjoy, feeling scared and nervous all the time, having thoughts of dying,
Cutting yourself, having difficulties taking thoughts that you don't want to have out of your head, worrying all the time, feeling down and depressed all the time, feeling angry for no reason, and feeling helpless and hopeless.
Remember, emotional pain is invisible, but it doesn't mean that it's hurting less. Emotional pain is equally painful, and in some cases it's even more disabling than physical pain.
You're the expert of your situation because you know your body. Emotional struggles are real even though they are invisible. You don't have to suffer in silence.
So come on, please talk to your teachers, school counselors, or school social workers.
You know your situation. It's hard to find the words to describe emotional pain, but it is real and devastating. You don't have to suffer in silence. It's okay to get help.
It's okay to get help.
It's okay to get help.
So, bonjour everybody. I am really honored and humbled to be here. What an incredible, incredible day. It is a good day, of course, to be Indigenous, as every day is a good day to be Indigenous. But today in particular, as we are celebrating this moment of coming together and the enthusiasm and the heart of all of the folks who've been engaged and involved with this project. And as Patrice mentioned, we woke up together. We brought the sun up together in ceremony on the shores of Ademakaska. And now we are here as the sun is beginning to set. This is what is possible every single day for our people. I want to take a moment though to lift up Maggie. I want to lift up Maggie because as you can hear in her voice and the expression on her face and the way she holds herself when she talks about this work, her excitement and her passion is contagious. And I know, Maggie, that sometimes our heart pulls us to want to be and a different time. But I want to tell you that you are right on time. We all need to do right now. And with President Buck crying, I don't know that I'll be able to get through this either. It happens all the time when we tag team stuff like this. But today is Indigenous Peoples Day. What a beautiful way to spend the day. We have declared it, the governor declared it Indigenous Peoples Day in the state of Minnesota. And being here to celebrate the Wakan Tipi Center is exactly how I want to spend this day. President Buck, thank you for your words, thank you for your leadership, thank you for being a source of inspiration and guidance for me and for so many other Indigenous women. I appreciate you. And thank you for all of the people who are involved in making Wakan Tipi Center a reality. As an Indigenous woman, I know the importance of keeping places that are sacred both valued but also appreciated. And Wakan Tipi Center will do exactly that. I'm excited for the next generation to walk on this earth, to be able to learn from the Wakan Tipi Center and to be able to connect with Dakota culture. For our young people who are Indigenous, who are Dakota, but also for our young people who are not. It matters that they know who they are, where they come from, and on whose land they stand. We need to honor and protect these sites of the First Peoples here with this first phase of construction that's ongoing, and we are one step in the right direction, and there is so much more to come. As we were able to secure these additional bonding dollars led by leaders right here for this project, I want to make sure that I thank, of course, Senator Kunesh, who was representative when these dollars were secured, and Senator Hurd, who's still a senator. We're grateful for that, for their good work in the legislature. But I also want to say that it took our people being the, excuse my crudeness, the butts in the seats to get this done. For too long, bonding dollars or access to things at the Capitol has been a secret handshake behind closed doors by people who do not look like us. And every day, these individuals walk into systems that were not created by us or for us, but in many ways were created to erase us or eliminate us. And so as they walk into these places and do this work, what I would ask you is to continue to pray for these folks and lift them up. Because we have so much more work to do. This is only the beginning of what is possible. So please, if you could do that, we'd all appreciate it. And when we have projects like this one, we can look at it. We can say, this is what happens when you invest in Indigenous people, in BIPOC projects. This is what happens when you put Native people in positions of leadership to do what we need to do for our own people and just get out of the way. And we've started to talk about this, and I want to close with this. One of the things we were able to get done is passing Indigenous education for all, which will offer the opportunity for every person pre-K-12 to know whose land we're on. That Minnesota Makoche, when Minnesota, before Minnesota was Minnesota, to know that we have always been here, we are still here, we will remain here, and Native and non-Native students across Minnesota need to know the truth, can handle the truth, and that is what we are going to do together. And Wakan Tipi Center is a part of the foundation of all of that good work left to do and left to come.
Hello, my relatives. How mitako yapi? Nyajong itong kutining jang. Halage. Today is a wonderful day, a perfect day. We are here to celebrate the land recognition of the Wakan Tipi Center, and also to honor the sacrifice, the significance of the Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you all for being here at this nature sanctuary. This Lakota-led project, the Wakan Tipi Center, has been long overdue. This proposal has been in the legislative record before my service in the Minnesota Senate in 2013. However, it wasn't until 2018 that the project received partial state appropriation. Then last year, we give it additional funding in order for us to be here today. I appreciate everyone's contribution, your hard work, your persistence, and your patience. After today, as we begin the first phase of construction, I am committed to continue my work with the stakeholders should there be any more needs for support. The resource for the Wakan Tipi Center is just a small investment for the greater things that have yet to come. I look forward to the future of our diverse children and the people of all backgrounds to have the opportunity to explore, to learn, and to gain knowledge from this site about the environment, about preservation, about transparent history, and the sacredness of this land, and her original caretakers who kept this surrounding in harmony with nature. It's harsh to see the past exploitation over the centuries. We must let that be a lesson for us to always preserve. Thank you to the organizer, the board, and staff of the Lower Fame Creek Project for welcoming many communities to be here for this milestone celebration. In honor of our indigenous people and this land recognition ceremony today, as a Minnesota State Center of Hmong descent, we invited my Hmong elders to be here, our spiritual leaders and warriors of my culture, to celebrate together with everyone as relatives, familia, mitako yape, tining chang, obo ati. And may our environment be careful, preserved through the teaching of our soon-to-be the Wakan Tipi Center. Thank you, Wapila and Chiniguchi.
When I was first elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives about 5 years ago, I was new, I was unsure of my role as a legislator. I just knew I wanted to do some really good stuff for everybody here in Minnesota. And after my election, I got an email from this Barry guy. Didn't know who he was, wasn't quite sure. Sometimes you don't want to always open up those emails because you don't know what's going to be inside there. But here was an email from Barry thanking me for running and getting elected and being a sister to his wife and a role model to his daughter. I'd never met Barry. I'd never met Maggie. I hadn't seen their beautiful daughters, but apparently they lived in my district for a while and then decided to move to St. Paul, which really made me sad. But for a new legislator, a new indigenous person to the community, that email made all the difference for me, Barry. And so I can't say thank you enough for all of that. And then when I finally met his beautiful wife, Maggie, and she introduced me to this project of Wakan Tipi, I could not have been happier at that moment to be a state legislator that could advocate for this kind of project. And the very first time I came down here to the sanctuary and walked the paths and looked at the entrance to that cave, the feeling and the emotion of the ancestors that came before me was incredibly overwhelming. And the fact that it had been desecrated, that it had been used in different ways that were disrespectful to our ancestors was so heartbreaking. And as a legislator, to be able to have the opportunity to join with other legislators like Senator Herr here and our minority leader, Melissa Lopez Franzen, to work with the legislators like Leon Lilly and all those others that worked so hard to ensure that there would be funding to undo the damages, to attempt to undo the damages that have been done, not just to the physical places of our Dakota and our Anishinaabe relatives, but also the intentional elimination and destruction of our culture, our language, our ability to practice our religion, and the fact that the treaties and the sovereign rights of our ancestors have never been kept in full intent. And so as a Lakota, a descendant of a long line of strong Lakota women and men, I can't tell you what a privilege it is to be in a position where I can advocate for projects like this, and not just for our Indigenous people, but for our Hmong relatives and our Latino ancestors and relatives, and our European relatives that we all have that genetic and ancestral inheritance from. And so as we move forward in this project, I am so excited to have an opportunity to take a role in ensuring that our Native culture will be taught for the next generation.
Unusual event, especially for our community. And they also exist in the context of events that have occurred over the past year, over the past 2 years, over the past generation, and throughout the history of our entire country. We know that we've lost too many lives. Just this past year, we found ourselves, our Twin Cities metropolitan area, at the core, at the center of a national reckoning on race. We saw people in St. Paul, and people in Minneapolis, and people across the country, and people across the world take to the streets to say our systems have to work better for our community members. I'm convinced, President Buck, that they weren't just talking about violence that we see play out in social media against unarmed African American men, but they were talking about all the different ways in which we as a people, in which we as a family have seen the systems that are supposed to be helping us, that are supposed to be lifting us up, that are supposed to be raising our children and supporting our families, and have felt as though those systems have been, in effect, putting their knees on our necks. That's what made the world so frustrated. That's what made the world so angry. And that brings me full circle to today. Because we do know that St. Paul is a beautiful, incredible, prosperous city that was built upon the homelands, upon the villages, upon the sacred sites of the indigenous people of this region, without whom none of this city, nothing you see around you would have ever been possible. as we celebrate St. Paul, as we celebrate Imni Jaska, and I say it wrong every time, we know that ours is the story of people joining the experience of a land. We know ours is an imperfect story. We know ours is a story of stories woven together. And we know, as Martin Luther King once said, that the arc of the moral justice is long, but it bends toward justice. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We know, we've demonstrated in this city that that arc does not bend itself. That it requires people like you and me. It requires people like the incredible board and the incredible staff. It requires people like the senators, the lawmakers, the partners, the funders who are here in this space. It requires us working together every single day to bend that curve toward justice so that it will. And as we hear people say, and I promise I'll be brief, but President Buck, I grew up in the black church, so I can say that about 3 or 4 times. And as we hear people say, without justice, there's no peace. Some people hear that as a threat. I hear it as an observation. That without justice, there cannot be peace. That when families don't know where they're gonna sleep tonight, that when families don't know what they're gonna eat tonight, that when families don't have access to be able to just earn a living and better themselves through education, that it is impossible for those families to be truly at peace. And so as we think about the need for peace in our communities, we can never divorce that from our fight for justice in our communities, in our systems, and indeed in our lands. So as we strive to bring greater awareness to the history and culture of this site by creating space for education and connection across a larger and more diverse community, this space is a critical component of that work. It's a critical component of our Great River Passage Initiative and East Side River District, and our Lower Phelan Creek project is a vital partner as we work to reclaim, to rebuild, and to heal our lands together.
Hi, for everybody here. My name is Peng. I'm here to support the community of the St. Paul East Side, and including other areas in St. Paul. I'm gonna sing a traditional Hmoob folk song. This song is no music. Whoever sing this song had the music with the voice. So this song is to talk about having good leadership, and then we had a good community. The good leadership is about Senator from her. Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ ide tu na o ra e to gong pi no no den che yo to za tu me a e to cha tu me ta no a pi e trong pi sin yo ya ya li ya xiong luo tu na pi e trong pi sin na shan lu tuo nhỏ cha pi mo rong na rong chữ rong lý sa na tờ phu hờ nó tê ni ong chê mô lô tô ô di e ni tu tô con tao bi a tô lệ tô tu nó tê chê mô ni rong rong cha rong cô ta tao lý lu bà tơ cha e nu nong pi mo pi tu ki gong o y kia nha ra tu con ta ra đen chế pi tu ye nó ye chữ chữ lộ chữ an nhó lu rong se phò nó yo sa tu cô na nó ở tu na bi cho bi si na lu rong si phò sa lu tua bi mo rong na rong chữ ya se anh tờ phong hờ nó tu con bi nó tê ni cha cha rong nó ta tao lý lu bà nhớ tên trái bi tổ sư con rong mua chê bi tu mi tò mi a e ye nó ye chữ nó sẽ có sang tổ nó yo sơ tu con sơ tê ni rong rong lu la si mo so si cho mong đi nhóm lại kỳ e tu rong lò rong chữ lý sa na a tờ phong hờ nó tê mô trơ cái này nó thank you what cho na
我操！
一种年纪个那家我种的到的那晒考所是到了喏，浪的还能看了就这里喏了，被把信息多。